Do you want a cheap gaming PC build that's excellent for 1080p gaming? Then you came to the right video. Now I recommend you watching this whole video because at the end I will explain on how to make this PC even cheaper than it already is, but also how to make it a little bit more expensive so you gain extra performance. And before starting, I want to say that if you want to buy a Prebuilt PC because you don't want to build it by yourself, I completely understand that, so I recommend you watching my video about the best gaming desktops for the month of June 2022 in the top right of the screen. Now without more to say, let's start with this one. With the first component that we are going to talk about is the CPU, and we are going to use the Budget King, the one that I use in every budget video, the i3-12100F. This is an excellent CPU for 1080p gaming. You definitely don't need more than this if you're working on a tight budget, and if you want to upgrade it over time, I will go with the i5-12400F. Now, I recommend you going with the non-F version, which is a little bit more expensive if you're into productivity work because you get those integrated graphics that will help you out. But if you're going to use this PC for gaming, the i3-12100F is more than enough. For the motherboard, I went with the Gigabyte B660M. This is a micro ATX motherboard, which means that this whole PC is going to be a micro ATX build, so it's going to be smaller and it will fit basically on every desk. That's something that I really like about this build. For the CPU cooler, I decided to stay with the stock one. We are talking about the i3-12100F, so temperatures overall are not going to get hot, but if you really want a quiet experience, you can go for a cheap CPU cooler. Then for the memory kit, I went with the Silicon Power Kit. This one is dual channel, it has 2 sticks of 8 gigs at 3200 MHz CL16 memory, definitely all that we're going to need for gaming. I feel like 8 gigs is not going to be enough nowadays, and 32 gigs is definitely an overkill and it's not going to give you any extra performance for gaming. For the storage, I decided to go with the Western Digital Blue 1TB of SSD. I think that nowadays 1TB is the standard, and 500 gigs is going to be fine if you're just going to play esports titles. But if you're also going to play some games that consume a lot of storage, such as Warzone, GTA 5, Red Dead Redemption 2, or let's say Flight Simulator 2020, you will need way more storage than 500 gigs. But on the other hand, if you're going to play games like Valorant, Fortnite and CSGO, then 500 gigs is going to be enough. Then for the GPU, I decided to go with the RX 6500 XT. Now before you start hating, I actually think that this graphics card for the price that you're paying is not that bad. The performance is really similar to the GTX 1650 Super, and for 1080p gaming is going to be basically excellent. You will be able to play every single game at 1080p 60 FPS on average. Of course, it's going to depend on the settings that you're going to play them at. Most games 1080p 60 FPS average even in high settings. But if you're wondering if this graphics card is going to run your game at 1080p ultra settings, you should search on YouTube a benchmark for this CPU GPU combination, the i3-12100F and the RX 6500 XT. If you want to go for an NVIDIA graphics card, I completely understand, maybe you don't like the RX 6500 XT, then I would recommend you going for the GTX 1650 Super from eBay. It's going to be a used card and the price is going to be really similar to the RX 6500 XT. The performance, like I said before, is really similar, but here you get the NVIDIA encoder, so for streaming is actually going to be better. Then for the case, I went with the Deepcool Matrix 40 micro ATX case. I really love the design for this case. This is a micro ATX build, like I said at the beginning of the video, so it's going to be in a small case, and the airflow is actually excellent for the type of components that we are going to get. And then for the power supply, I went with something that's a totally overkill for this build, but it's on the sale right now. This one is the AVGA Supernova 650 watt 80 plus gold power supply at $60. Believe me that this is a huge advantage for future upgradability, because let's say you want to upgrade to the RTX 3070 or 3070 Ti, and then you want to upgrade as well the CPU to the i5-12400 or maybe the i7-12700K, the 650 watt 80 plus gold power supply is going to be crucial. So the total price for this PC it's $658. Now if you want to add Windows keys, it's going to cost you around $50 extra, but there's a way to make this PC cheaper without losing any performance, and that's by downgrading the storage to 500 gigs of SSD, where you save around $50, so the total price will be $600 for a gaming PC that for 1080p is actually pretty good. Now if you even want to go cheaper, you can go with the Ryzen 5 5600G and use the integrated graphics. You will save a bunch of money, but the performance is going to be significantly lower, so if you really want the best performance, I don't recommend you doing that. However, if you want to play light games like Minecraft, Valorant and CSGO, all of these at 60 plus FPS, I think that the Ryzen 5 5600G is going to be enough. But if you want to go for games like Red Dead Redemption 2 or let's say Forza Horizon, then you will definitely need a dedicated graphics card to hit 60 plus FPS. And if you have a higher budget and you want to make this PC a little bit more expensive, I would recommend you going for the i5 12400F and then upgrading the GPU to the RX 6600. Now this last upgrade, the RX 6600, is going to give you a huge performance improvement over the 6500 XT, so that's something that you should keep in mind. But if you actually want something that's really similar on the price and is going to perform way better, I recommend you going for something like the Big 15L, which is a Prebuilt PC. At this price, there are some Prebuilt PCs that are going to get you better performance. So thank you guys for watching. If you found it helpful, leave a like and subscribe, but most importantly hit that bell button so you get notified when I upload this type of content, which I do from 3 to 5 times a week. Thank you guys for watching, thank you for the support, and I will see you on the next one.